Hey everyone, and welcome to a special edition of IBM SpectrumCast, where today we're going to be talking about the launch of IBM Cloud Satellite and the role that the IBM storage and data management portfolio plays in the launch. So my co-host Steve Kennelly joining me today. Steve, good morning.
Morning.
And also very happy to be joined today by Denis Kennelly, General Manager of IBM Storage Worldwide, and also Sam Werner, VP Offerings for the brand, and Travis Meyer is also lurking in the shadows as well as our communications guy. So welcome, guys. So let's start off at a pretty rudimentary level and just answer the kind of musical question, what is Cloud Satellite? So this is a big announcement for IBM. It covers multiple brands, multiple parts of the company. It's getting a lot of press. Give me your take on what it is in general, kind of in simplified terms. Denis, let's start with your take on that.
Thanks, Randy. So what is Cloud Satellite? So let's kind of go back to basics. And talk about, every customer is on a digital transformation journey, or every business in the current climate, right? So what does that mean? What does digital transformation mean when it comes to technology and IT? It means, being able to run workloads, applications, share data in what we call a hybrid multi-cloud. So what do we mean by hybrid cloud? It means that it can run on-premise, it can run on a private cloud or a public cloud. And when we say multi, it's multiple public clouds. So now you get a sense of the environment, right? So across that entire environment, the role of Cloud Satellite, put it simply, is a management platform that runs on the IBM Cloud that manages that complete environment and enables and manages applications right across that environment. And when we mean by management, it isn't just mean monitoring, it's the whole tool chain, the DevOps cycle, etc., how you develop, deploy, and operate those applications across that environment. Hopefully that explains it in simple terms, Steve. And,
it absolutely. Yeah, no, it does. That's perfect. And I think that's the vision that people have, and it's the vision that our industry's had for a while now, is that you want to have that seamless experience, whether your workloads are running on-prem, in one or more public clouds, or in some intermediate cloud layer, or on the edge. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and as well as that, remember, it gives you that cloud experience, right? So Cloud Satellite runs an IBM Cloud, so it's as a service management, right? So
yeah.
While you're running, as you said, on the edge in the data center and in the cloud, it's you have that cloud experience right across that environment. So and you have the modern. It's also integrating with that modern tool chain capabilities as well.
Cool. So. What about use cases? Now, there are some kind of obvious things that come to mind, whether it's edge automation or, there's going to be a lot of kind of IoT and things of that nature where I think an on-premises cloud instantiation makes sense, but there's going to be tons of others as well. Are there some kind of obvious, first phase implementations that are going to be key here? I don't know, Sam or Denis, if you want to tackle that one.
Yeah, I'll just start and maybe and then hand it to Sam. I think, in technology, when I look at this, we kind of struggle with this. I call this pendulum between centralized and decentralized compute. If you think back, far enough, right, when we started out with the mainframe, everything was centralized. You rented time literally on the machine, but everything was there. The compute, the storage, etc. So we said, no, we want to distribute everything, right? We want to have compute on the desktop. We want people to be able to access compute. We want everybody to have their own machine, etc. So we had distributed computing. Then we said, when we distribute everything, this is a complexity of management. This is, a lot of OpEx here. Let's move it all back into these central clouds. So we centralize everything and we get OpEx savings, et cetera, and get more elasticity and better utilization. So we centralize everything in the cloud. Now we're kind of swinging back again as we move workloads to the edge. Why are we doing that, right? Because as you move everything into a cloud, the ingest costs and moving data to this central cloud are quite high. So, and a lot of the use cases that we have today, we have compute right now, right out of the edge of the network. Think of distribution, think of oil and gas, think of IoT, all these sensors generating data. Now, today you have no choice but backhaul all that data to a central cloud, do some analytics, and send the result back down again. When it doesn't, and you pay all those costs back and forth, right? So imagine a world where you could actually do that compute at the edge, but you don't want to do it as an islanded compute, as something that's different to what we've done in cloud, because we've learned a lot from cloud, a lot of OpEx savings, elasticity, etc. So you want that type of capability out of the edge. And that's really what is happening now. So, and then when I talk about cloud satellite, I talked about as a service. So I give that kind of mini cloud type operating environment out of the edge. And being able to share data back and forth and access data back and forth is critical. Because as I said, the other case was move the data. Now it's all about sharing the data, right? Which is, where I think is very critical and very important for IBM Storage to actually think about that and how we share data across those environments.
Perfect transition to the next question, which is what is the role of IBM kind of storage portfolio solutions and data services within cloud satellite and the architecture that we're announcing and deploying? So, Sam, you want to jump on that one?
Yeah, it's a great question, and really, I mean, all the things Dennis talked about promise a lot of value. A lot of those initiatives are being driven by the business lines within organizations. And in a lot of cases, the IT administrator or the storage administrator is not really involved in some of these discussions and architectural decisions. And I always tell them you need to get involved early or this problem is going to blow back on you. What we are doing with our integration of IBM storage into cloud satellite, we allow that cloud-like experience to come on premises, allow them to modernize their infrastructure without having to throw out what they've already done, allowing them to embrace their institutional knowledge, the years of experience they have in delivering high security, high SLAs, continuous availability, all those important things that don't go away, right? Do you have 3-site replication of your data? And in the event there's a local event or a more regional event, do you have the ability to recover quickly? So we allow them to embrace all that existing technology. Beyond that, with IBM software-defined storage, we allow them to deploy that consistent model, not only on premises, but now extend it to multiple different clouds. So again, they can take all of this institutional experience and investment and now bring it out to the clouds. And with IBM Cloud Satellite, create one way of managing, monitoring, and orchestrating that. In our IBM Spectrum Scale portfolio, we do something really unique, which is provide a set of data services that allow you to access your data from anywhere. Dennis talked about the edge, being able to access your data at the edge without having to make expensive copies, being able to access data from the edge, either in the cloud or in your data center without having to copy the data back, creating governance or security problems. You can do all of that seamlessly using our software-defined storage, again, on-prem, in the cloud, or at the edge. So these sets of data services that start with protecting your existing investments in institutional knowledge, and then being able to extend into these multiple deployment models, all under a single umbrella of cloud satellite.
Yeah. Sam, when you take a look at some of the recent announcements in the IBM storage portfolio, and I like how you and Dennis laid out, you've got edge compute. I like your example, Dennis, the pendulum analogy, right? So now you've got edge compute. We've recently launched some new solutions around simplification at the edge for smaller devices around storage. Now you integrate that into the cloud satellite portfolio. Now you can have a consistent experience across all of the different locations where you're running this. And that's ultimately from a management perspective to help clients lower OpEx is what we're really shooting for, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Steve, that's the point I'm trying to make, because the danger we can fall into is you move compute to the edge and it's a new computing model. We got to learn from the experiences we had from the cloud, right? There's a lot of good things there, like elasticity, OpEx reduction, modern application development. You got to have that same capability out of the edge. And so integrating our storage, some of our recent announcements with the Flash 5200 and with Spectrum Scale into satellite is critical, because they have to be part of that experience, that operating model, which is what we're doing and making that happen. So when you're sitting on the edge, it has the same experience as if you're sitting in a central cloud.
Yeah, and I would just say from a market viewpoint, there have certainly been more than enough stalking horses in this space already, whether it's AWS Outpost. Actually, Outpost is AWS's at least fourth major attempt to establish a footprint in the data center. So you've got Azure as well from Microsoft and others. So it's a logical progression, right? It makes sense to be able to deliver that common functionality, that common user experience from the edge all the way to the core data center to the public cloud. I mean, that just is a very sensible approach. And this is, I think, my perspective is that the IBM Red Hat ecosystem, along with, I believe we have 60 plus partner solutions that are included in the satellite architecture as well. I think we're going to be uniquely positioned to really deliver on that promise where others have failed or not been able to fully realize the value. I think we're very well positioned to stake that claim and become a thought leader and a market leader in this space. So it's really exciting, I think.
I think, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, when you think about the ecosystem of partners, but there's one key point that Sam made, right? When you compare against some of the others that have launched stuff, this whole concept of shared access to data. If you look closely at the others that you mentioned, Outpost and Azure Stack, etc., yeah, it's very application centric and it deploys the application. But what we're doing with Spectrum Scale in particular is allowing you to share data across those, think of compute pods or edge pods, right? And that is a unique differentiation that only IBM has the technology to do that. So that's a really critical point, I think, as we think about this, that people have to understand that we're using Spectrum Scale under the covers, which has that clustered file system that can share data across those clusters seamlessly. And when you think about things like 5G and the advances in networking, that makes that possible right now, because you can have a fast enough pipe between each of these edge nodes or pods that actually allows you to share that data seamlessly.
Yeah, that's a great point. So infrastructure, whether it's network bandwidth and capacity and kind of the commoditization of network capacity, and also aerial density on compute, is definitely making these new architectures a possibility when you've got every autonomous vehicle is a supercomputer on wheels now, basically. And we're working very closely with providers in that space. So anyway, I think this is really cool. It's a very exciting announcement, not just for us as a brand, but for IBM as a whole. I think it's pretty significant. So parting thoughts, things you'd like our sellers to be aware of, or questions they should be asking as they're talking to their clients or getting questions from their clients?
Sorry,
go ahead, Steve.
I'll just say one thing. I think what I said at the top, right? Look, everybody is on a digital transformation journey. Everybody is modernizing their IT, looking for new services, roll applications much faster. And first and foremost, we got to recognize that and be fully aware of those investment patterns and opportunity for selling into it. And being able to make sure we can tie our storage and our storage offerings into that opportunity. I think, don't just get relegated into selling a box. Think about, the transformation that is going on and the role that data and data sharing has across that, and how our software-defined storage can enable that to happen. That would be the key point I would make.
I'll add on, for those of you out there talking to storage administrators, you need to help them think strategically and be part of the conversation. There's a lot happening in their organization they may not be plugged into. This digital transformation is happening and it's accelerating. And in a lot of cases, the infrastructure team's being left behind, and they're going to be stuck down the road trying to figure out how to reestablish the SLAs that they've delivered in the past. They need to get involved now and make sure that they're helping architect a hybrid cloud model that will support the business needs. So that's extremely important.
Sam, can I add one more thought process or question, right? As we talk about data management, right? One of the big things for all of data management, and especially Randy, when you mentioned the competitive aspect, one thing IBM brings to the table is we've been doing this data management thing for a long, long time with a breadth of expertise and deep technology expertise in a lot of these areas. How should our sellers, or maybe more importantly, how should clients think about protecting that data throughout that life cycle in all these different locations? What should they be thinking about?
Yeah, that's a great question, Steve. And we should have talked a little bit more about what we're able to do from a data protection perspective. We offer one of the most comprehensive data protection portfolios in the industry. Everything that a customer needs to air gap their data, to create snapshots for very quick recovery, for data sharing, of course, for the more traditional backup use cases. We go across an incredible breadth of applications and now have very significant focus and leadership around container backup. Our data protection portfolio runs in multiple clouds, whether it's Azure, AWS, IBM Cloud. We can help protect data across all these different platforms. So when you're talking about a hybrid cloud strategy with a customer, we can talk about our years of experience and capabilities for being able to back up their data, not just their existing applications, but as they start moving towards a new model of building applications in containers to be built once, deployed anywhere, we can provide the framework for backing up those applications and ensuring that if something happens, whether it's some kind of a ransomware attack or malicious activity or some kind of an event that requires recovery in another location, we'll give them that set of capabilities and tools they need to do it. One other thing I'll mention, we've talked about data everywhere. That can be complicated and result in governance challenges, compliance issues. We also have Spectrum Discover, which is a really important part of this data management that can give you visibility to your data everywhere. In one repository, understand where all your data is and where it's been, which is very important for security. So from a data management perspective, we offer a very wide set of tools.
And actually,
great stuff.
Just to build on your point there, Sam, on Spectrum Discover. I mean, we talked a lot about hybrid cloud and hybrid multi-cloud, but everybody is also on a journey to AI and adopting AI everywhere. And one of the big barriers, as we know, to AI success is access to data, knowing where the data is. And that's clearly the role of Spectrum Discover, being able to discover the data across these very distributed, complex environments.
Yep. Sovereignty, chain of custody, compliance. Yep. All of that. Yeah, this is great. And this is exactly why I was saying earlier that I genuinely believe that we have the only ecosystem play, full stack play that addresses all of those, key requirements to deliver a true hybrid multi-cloud. And now with the announcement of satellite, I think the story is really complete in that sense. So good stuff. So gentlemen, thank you for your time. This has been a really good discussion. I would encourage sellers, partners, everyone who's listening to this. Also, I guess we should probably put a plug in for the weekly Modern Data Protection Spectrum Cast, where we cover these issues in a lot more depth as well. But thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Denis, Sam, thank you for your time this morning, this afternoon. Please feel free to reach out to Travis too. Sorry, you're not on video, Travis. I'm not avoiding you. If you have questions for any of us, please feel free, ping us on Slack or email us. We'll be happy to answer your questions or get them answered. So gentlemen, again, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.